it is real. There's real emotions and there's real stories, and I want real feedback. And I need people to understand that I do care about this journey you're going on. And if you have any questions, you reach out to me. I will be there to answer anything we can. If you need some more information on radiation and what happens when you're on Lupron and whatever, doing the same exact thing, lowering the T's, and you have to understand we'll have more information on that because now that's part of the journey. So you learn more when you're going through it, and dang it, I guess I have more to learn, so I'm going to go through it and we're going to figure it out together. This is HCRD.online, raw, unfiltered, and unapologetically real. We're diving into humor, culture, and the conversations that matter, from everyday life to the prostate cancer journey that sparked it all. No scripts, no BS, just truth. Let's go. Welcome back, my friends. This is HCRD.online. Well, Shali is joining me again, and just thought we would drop in real quick and talk about an appointment that we talked about before. I knew I was going to have an appointment, follow-up urologist, and I got there, and Shali was able to listen into the conversation, ask questions, and find out the results firsthand. And this is the first time you've been able to do this. During this whole thing, you have been out of state and many miles away. And now that you're not out of state and many miles away, you were here when I had my appointment and said, Dad, I want to go. I want to listen because your PSA numbers are increasing. And when we saw the one that I got the results from the other day, it had gone up in 6 weeks. And so you got to meet the doctor, and you guys talked more about art than we talked about my prostate. But what did you think of my urologist as a doctor?
I thought he did a great job of sitting down, actually answering questions and listening for those questions. I've had a lot of dismissive doctors where it's like, okay, it's XYZ, and then they run out the room, and it's like, wait a second, I still had 27 questions, and you're sitting there still wondering. And so I thought he did a great job making sure that any questions that we had were answered the best that he was able to answer them. So I really appreciated that about him.
So as far as what he said, it was pretty straightforward. He said, hey, your PSA went up again. And we're going to, you know me, I'm just going to put this in a neat little capsule and recap what he said. And then we're going to discuss what our thoughts are on that afterwards. If that's all right with you. He said, hey, you have prostate cancer. Your PSA went up again, and it's going to continue to do that. I honestly don't think it's going to go down. It's not going to stabilize. You have a chemical reoccurrence of your prostate cancer. Obviously, you don't have a prostate. That means it's somewhere. And we asked questions about where is that somewhere. And he said, well, most of the time, in fact, we're going to say 66.6% of the time, it is going to be in the prostate bed. It's going to be one of those things that you have to radiate the area as opposed to the prostate. And so we had some other questions, and we'll get into all of that because I learned some things that you can do that won't be effective in my case. But he said, I need to talk to your surgeon, your cancer team that's over in Round Rock. I also need to talk to a new person that we're going to introduce, an oncologist for you that is closer. It's down in Fredericksburg. If you guys have been to the hill country of Texas, Fredericksburg may have been one of your stops. Really cool town, museums, all kinds of stuff going on all the time, and samples. Yeah, that's our favorite store. It's the sample store because you get to try new stuff and bring home new seasonings and stuff. And Shali and I enjoy spending time in the kitchen, coming up with weird creations. And sometimes we'll cook the same thing with different techniques and go, who won? And it's not really a competition. It's just a flavor thing. Sorry, I had one of those weird earthquake things happen. But here's the thing. He tells me that I'm at a crossroads of misinformation, basically, because 2/3 of the people that choose the radiation method will come out on the backside of it with all of that gone. Any residual in the prostate bed will be gone. a third of the people that undergo this will have a reoccurrence because it is spread somewhere. You had a great question. If we wait to do anything, what are the chances that that prostate cancer is going to spread further? And he goes, how do we know it hasn't spread already? And I said, so why are we just going to radiate the prostate bed? He said, because 2/3 of the people, that's where it is. Now, you're also going to have to do the Lupron shots anywhere from 6 months to 3 years, knowing that if you do that, you don't get over this real quick. So there were other things we discussed that will come up in our conversation. But overall, I left the office and my mood was as gloomy as the weather. Storms came through and it was dark. It was gray. We were walking in the rain, and I said, I don't know. I am thankful that you were there with me to hear this and experience this, because it takes a lot of people to come together to help people through this ugly disease. And you were there, like I said earlier, as a distant observer that wanted to be a lot closer. And you made a trip that only lasted, 2 or 3 days, just so you could say, I need to, with my own eyes, I need to see him, talk to him, find out where he's at, because within an hour of our conversation, I'm going to know what he's feeling, because you and I have always said that. Right. I think with most of the kids, you want to talk, whatever we're going to talk about, it doesn't matter. The fact that you were sitting in there when we were discussing things that go along with prostate cancer, it didn't bother me, because you're mature enough to handle what we were talking about. And at the same time, it's all part of what's going on. So what is your take on what happened with what he said and our reaction time?
Sorry. I need a second.
No, a second is totally understandable. You just found out that Dad's going to have to go through the next step of this, and if it's too much to talk about right now, you don't have to. But this is why I say we get real here, and anything that is able to be discussed, I have no problem discussing. Now, the emotional side of this, you and I talked about on the way home. So we had 30 minutes to discuss all this, and I did a lot of the talking on where my brain was. But when you're able to continue on what you're thinking with all of this, you can go. And if you're not ready right now, you tell me that.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just this past year, like you said, being states away and being so hard. So selfishly, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad that I was able to hear it all instead of, sometimes a couple days away. It's like, oh, just letting you know. Like, by the way,
Yeah.
so I am glad that I was able to be there. I was able to ask the questions that I had, directly to him and be able to hear all of it. Overwhelming is an understatement of hearing all of that and the statistics and everything that goes along with that. And you said your brain kind of shuts down and mine was just kind of racing like, okay, well, if this happens, then this happens, and then if we're going this route, then this and this and this and this are possibilities. And so it was just a lot of mind racing and thinking of everything on based on what I've read, and then there's new things popping up that I didn't really know about or didn't read too much into. So I'm like taking notes and I'm like, okay, I need to go home and research X, Y, and Z. And I haven't done that yet, so still need to do that. But yeah, we just walked in the door from this appointment, so still a lot of thoughts on that one. But yeah, I think mostly just overwhelming and selfishly, I'm just like, okay, yeah, go to Fredericksburg, do what needs to be done. And I know that there's more to it, but it's just for me, it's
It's
when this
me,
happened.
and you
Like,
want me
exactly.
better. Whatever it takes to get better, you're going to do, even
Hmm.
though those percentages. Now, you haven't done a lot of research on the Lupron shots or the stuff that's going to
Right.
kill your testosterone. You haven't read that, but basically, it does a lot of things. You can have brittle bones on the backside of this. You have muscle loss. You have no energy. You have all of the menopausal symptoms of hot flashes and all of the things that go along with that. And that's not even the radiation, that's just the prep shots. And when he said, you're going to have to be on that possibly for 3+ years, and I said, no, I'm not. And he said, well, you're going to have to talk to somebody that has a little more knowledge in this, because radiation wasn't on my radar. Now, I have a ton of research that's sitting next to me, and these are the ones that I haven't filed yet in my big notebook. You've seen the notebook of info. It's in there. I've read on it. I understand. I've been on the Facebook support group page and read some horror stories. And the problem is, the people that are on that page don't stay on the page if they get the all clear sign. Everything's all happy, they go away, right? They're on the page when they're scared. They're on the page when it's new and they're looking for answers because they are concerned. They're petrified of hearing that C word. And I saw it on your face when the doctor said, no, this is reoccurrence. This is chemical reoccurrence. It's not going to go anywhere. You're going to have to do something. What you do is going to be dependent on what your doctors have planned for you. So there's a lot of doctors, a lot of pieces of the puzzle. And to me, when you start looking at all the little things that can go wrong, it scares the hell out of you. It really does. It's one of those things. I know when people are going through this, you go, you're going to do whatever it takes to get better. Whatever it takes, you're going to do that. But if you're not in that person's shoes, it's hard to say that, because whatever that is going to have all kinds of weird side effects, complications, things down the road. You know, well, if you have your prostatectomy and just have it removed, here's side effects. These are immediate. These are things that can, if you do radiation, here's the side effects. And you go, well, now you get to experience both of those, and one can make the other worse. And then at the same time, 2/3 of the people, it's going to be good. But the doctor said, Steve, after everything you went through, I know you're in that state of mind. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong, because it did for you. That was a scary thing. And oh my gosh, you look better. You look really good today. And I go, I feel pretty good. Physically, mentally, I am a mess right now. And that appointment didn't help. There's so many moving pieces of my life right now, and things that I've been thinking and concentrating on and all of this stuff. And now again, I have to turn it back to me. At some point I have to go, what am I going to do? Right? I know everyone's going to say you do whatever it takes to get it done. And I said, but what if you wait? What if you wait until you can do a PET scan and those numbers are high enough to actually be detectable? The PSMA.
It's a PSA-led PET scan. He said there's like 20 different types of PET scans that you can do, and this one's specific to the PSA. So they inject you somehow with something that makes that PSA sensitivity glow. And
yeah, it's more radiation.
Yes. Yep. And then that will make the PSA light up wherever it is visible. And he did say that with it being a 0.06 PSA from the blood test, then it is extremely likely that nothing's going to show up on the PSMA. But to me, they didn't do the, yes. So to me, they didn't do the PET scan beforehand. They did the bone scan, and it's like, okay, yeah, we lit up in a couple areas because of past traumas and everything. And you're like, okay, but what about that left shoulder? And they're like, oh yeah. And then they never answered that. And so to me, I'm like, they should have done the PET scan beforehand whenever it could show. But then also, if it had already spread, then it wouldn't hurt doing the PSMA now, because then it would have shown what already spread. And then if you do the radiation now, so to me, it makes sense. And he was just like, yeah, I don't know. And it's up to you. And I'm like, Hey,
Yeah. But then you don't know if the test is going to show anything. But how do we know that the PSA that is on the rise right now isn't being created from something that's mass is growing somewhere else? What if it's already in the bones? What if it's and if it can, sometimes it does. And I don't like the thought of all of this when I'm still dealing with the aftermath. It hasn't even been a year. It was August 28th when I had my surgery, and here we are now, the 10th of June, and we're saying, "Hey, this is ugly. You had invasion. You had outside of the margins. You those cells." And he confirmed that with it being a aggressive cancer, this could go fast. It could spread. And I said, so what if we radiate that area and you have me on Lupron, which is going to shrink everything and it won't be detectable, but then I get off of that and then all of a sudden it goes, hello, and its ugly head's been there, but it's been masked by these shots that he wants me to take. And so I don't know what they're going to suggest with all of this stuff. All I know is Doc says it could be up to like 3 years, and then it takes a year plus to get it out of your system and start to get back to normal. So you're looking at a 4 to 5 year process. And I go, okay, so I have a 2/3 chance that this is going to work, and I won't know for sure for another 5 years. At that point I will be 65 years old and have been dealing with this stuff for 6 years, 7 years, whatever, because it was before my surgery, obviously. Um, it's weird. It, I was going to say my brain thinks right now, and my brain is not functioning well enough to tell you what's going to happen, right? I will do more research. I will get stupid. I will do all of the things. But we started talking about side effects and radiation. Hey, it avoids major surgery. Oops, I already had that. So maybe good option for those with other health conditions. It wasn't risky. I was good. Can shrink the tumors and make surgical removal more effective. Well, guess what? I've already done all that. So now, instead of just the prostate being the target, it's going to be the entire. He said it's a big area. It's the entire pelvic floor, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, wait a second. Um, there's going to be, oh wait, fatigue, skin irritation, bowel problems, diarrhea, and rectal bleeding. That sounds like something. Erectile dysfunction, urinary problems, and risk of cancer reoccurrence. And that's the 1/3 of the people that go through this stuff. Yeah, I'm going to be shitting blood, but you know what? There's a chance that it's going to take care of it. It's a scary thing to me because the aggressiveness of the cancer is what's telling him that I need to start doing the actions now. Because I went in, remember 3-4-4-3, and ended up 3-5-4-5, which is an 8-9, classified as an 8 on paper because that was the majority of what was a 3-5, a 5. That's as aggressive as it's going to get, and it encompassed 60% of my prostate outside the margins, invasion into, and I go, stop. This is everyone's personal journey. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't base what you're going to do on what I've done. The weird stuff that I went through on the backside, that has nothing to do with prostate cancer. The prostate cancer is back. It was never gone. How do we know it wasn't somewhere else? How about during that bone scan when it lit up in my shoulders? My left shoulder a lot more than my right. My right one's the one I trashed. And they said, oh, and your spine, your knees, especially your right knee and your right foot is. And I go, those are places that I had surgeries, multiples. Like my knee, I don't know, 8 or 9 surgeries on my right knee, a couple on my left. I haven't done anything except bow hunting, trash my right shoulder. And they said, it's your left. that's lighting. We're going to have more imaging. And they talked to somebody and said, nah, we're okay. We don't need to do that, which was the tech that was doing it. Had talked to somebody on I'm already in, Peru. I don't know what you're doing. I'm fishing or whatever they're doing. I don't know. What do you do in Peru?
I've never been.
Yeah, I know. But do you know anything about Peru? What do they do? Are they Peruvian people?
I don't know. I wasn't ready for a
Okay.
quiz again.
All right. What
And
what what do I do next?
that's not something one that anyone else can decide. I again selfishly am like, yeah, get in there, do radiation, do everything you need to do. But that's also not something that can be decided right now. Emotions are high, minds are reeling and spinning and overthinking on everything that we just talked about. And so trying to make a decision right now is not something that is gonna be super effective. So it's definitely gonna take a second and do that research and pros and cons. To me, I'm like everything's above 50%. That's a positive. D's get degrees, and so 66.67%,
66.
that's passing in college
Uh-huh.
classes. That
Hmm. Yeah, let's take this and put it into a scholastic grading scale and say we're okay. But now you're looking at these new results and these new equations, and they said 48 hours before I get a call from the oncologist. Who knows when that's going to be? Urologist said, I'll see you in 3 months and we're going to do another PSA test. And I go, why don't we do one soon? I go, you know what? That's just going to make things worse. I know what it's doing. We all know it's going up. He goes, we don't know how much it'll go up. But in 3 months, if you check it and it is quadrupled because it's doubling pretty quick. And he goes, even though it's on a small scale, it is doubling and it is you have chemical reoccurrence. With the numbers that you have as far as the grade of your cancer, you need to do something, and I'm sending you down to a new doctor. You know what really sucks? Your brain has to say, how about work?
and I
I'm
thought that
going
too,
I'm going to
especially
have to drive
Mhm.
an 2 hours on it. It's going to be a 2.5, 3 hour turnaround every day for up to 8 weeks. How do you survive that? How do you still have a job on the backside of that?
And that's
Because
something else you'll have to look into and
that is
see if
one of my
there's any medical leaves that would take care of that.
there are, and I used some of those days with the surgery and all my complications on the backside, and they paid me my normal salary, but they took $100 a day for a substitute that they didn't use because that's part of the program. So you're making a whole lot less money than, $2,000 a month is coming out of your paycheck. Is that going to affect anyone? That's going to affect everyone. I don't care if it means you don't go your Starbucks every day during the week. You only get it 3 days, whatever. I don't know how that would impact you, but it impacted my family. And I went back to work early because of the financial burden of going through this crap. And now I'm looking at it again, saying there's going to be 8 weeks, 6 weeks every day. And okay, well, I'm going to work 12-hour days so I can take off, enough to make up the difference. And that's what it's going to be. I'm going to have to work 11 or 12-hour days with that break in between to go down and get radiation for something that's only has a 67% chance of working. Do you do it now? See, if you were going to do it, you do it during the summer, right? You work at a school, that would be a whole lot easier. You're on 410s, you go do it every day. You just work all day on Friday, you make up your hours in a normal work week, and you're good instead of working till 7 or 8 o'clock at night or whatever. So that in the back of my brain is also playing into this. When you have to worry about your financial responsibilities when you're dealing with death, that sucks. And it's a burden on your entire family because it affects everyone. That $2,000 you're not making at that point, that made a difference. And it's not only an emotional and a physical, now it's a monetary and it's a social thing, and it's all of the crap in a little package that they're going to deliver called cancer, and they're going to set it down at your door, and you have to make decisions. Now, I can't make decisions till I talk to the doctor. He may say, you know what? We're not worried about that. You have yourself all upset because another oncologist told you when it hits 0.05, you need to do something. And so now it's over that. And it was that a month ago. And then in that short amount of time, it's popping again. You go, but that's a slight increase. Okay, put it in your body and tell me it's a slight increase. The doctor didn't think it was nothing this time. He's very concerned. You're very concerned. So what do you do? Mentally, how do you get through this now? You have the facts. See, here I go talking too much. But this is why when people tell you, oh, hey, I have a doctor's appointment, I have to go, I'm going to have to relay the information on this information that I just got dumped on me. And it's personal stuff. What are you going to do? And who do you tell? Because, it's in that mode right now. Because I know there's a lot of people that care, and they're going to ask questions, and a lot of people that are just digging for information so they can be the gossip person, whatever. I'm in that mode mentally, and I can't imagine you sitting through what you just sat through and being able to go, hey, I'm going to jump on this podcast and talk.
But
So
I know
how do
it's
you
something that helps you.
I know.
And
Okay, so how do you deal with it at this point? Let's talk through an outside observer,
are you saying
daughter,
me personally, how do I
you
deal with
personally.
it?
That's exactly what I want to do.
I don't have healthy coping mechanisms. I do a lot of distraction. And so I find things that get me out of it. A lot of my issues that I've been dealing with this last couple months, I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'm gonna go paint a mural. And so I'm really bad about that. I was seeing a therapist for a little bit, and she's like, okay, but how are you dealing with that? I was like, look at this really cool mural. And she's like, all right, but what about your emotional state? I'm like, do you see the fish on the mural? And she's like, no, 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 that's not working. So, I don't think I'm the best person to ask on how to deal with things mentally. I got through it, but it is a lot of distraction on my end. Also, you've always been the helper. I'm really good about being able to focus on other people, and so that way I don't have to focus as much on my problems. Again, not very helpful, but I feel better that I'm helping others. And so finding that creative outlet, the podcast again, I know that this is something that's really therapeutic. I said your last one that you did, it sounded like very therapeutic for you. It also sounded very poetic. And so I really enjoyed that, and I could feel that kind of sense of relief just hearing it. So I think focusing on things that bring me up personally have been super helpful. Trying to figure out when to talk about it has been a struggle for me. I don't want to, I think I've talked about this before too, but I don't want to keep bringing it up. But it's like, okay, but like, how are you feeling? And it's like, now I'm thinking, when people ask me, how are you feeling? Well, now I'm starting to think about all of the ways that I'm not okay. And so I don't want to be doing that to you of, hey, how are you feeling about this? What are you thinking right now? And it's like, oh man, well, I wasn't. It was on that top shelf, and now you just brought it all the way to the bottom. We got to open that up. We got to
Right.
deal with it. So, that's been a struggle. I think there needs to be a code word of, do you want to talk about it? Or maybe just saying, hey, do you want to talk about it right now? Because timing is a little hard when it comes to
Right.
talking about hard things.
Right. But at the same time, I've always been open to conversations.
Hmm.
Do you guys need to talk about it? That's part of my thing, because yes, the patient, it needs to be able to have an outlet and be able to talk, but the people that it affects, and I cast a pretty big net during my issue. Um, People came from all over to help and support us, and I'm not used to that. When I had to go out on the the court with all the girls during volleyball, and they presented me with the check from the shirts they sold for cancer awareness, and they go, it's not always a pink ribbon. And again, now I'm going to lose it. That was crazy, and it was like that. Everybody stepped up, and now, they go, how you doing? And I go, do you really want to know? Do you really want me to put that burden on your brain? Because I'm telling you what, and I do the first thing, what, I'm not doing real well right now. And they go, well, do you need to talk? And I go, you know what? We can, and they go, well, what's going on? And then I will tell them. Other people go, how you doing? You go, oh man, life sucks. And I go, okay, man, good to see you. And then walk on. I go, you don't give a shit about me, right? And it's one of those things, and we all do it. Hey, how you doing? If they stop and talk, am I one to stop and listen?
Yes.
I am, but I'm not going to put that burden on other people. It was easy for me to help. We had a guy, we pulled up in the rain 15 minutes ago, and I go, who's sitting in front of our house? And there was a big truck with a big trailer and a riding lawnmower on the back of it. 0-turn, nice one. I'm all, what are they doing here? Number one, we don't pay people to mow. That's one of my escape mechanisms, something to keep me busy and my mind off it. I don't know where you came up with that coping mechanism, but he was there, and it's raining. I get out and walk over, and I knock on this guy's window, and he's looking at his phone, leaning over, tinted windows, I could still, and I knocked again, and he snapped around, and I had my hands up. I go, hey, whoa, whoa, and I backed away, and he opened his door, and I go, hey, noticed on his truck, his back passenger tire was shredded and off the rim. Belts had separated, and the belts dropped, and the rim. He goes, it felt squirrely when I turned the corner, and I go, I wonder how long you've been driving like this. You have a nice polished rim. But I said, what do you need? What do we have to do? And he goes, well, I called, and Lano Station's coming out, and they're going to load it up, and they're going to change the tire and get me taken care of. And I go, well, if you need anything, we're going to be in the house. And I walked up, and you were standing there, and we walked in, and it wasn't even a, hey, what did you do? What did you say? It's because that's what I've tried to teach you guys to do forever. If somebody needs help, you help them. But when I need help, I want to be that turtle and just crawl into my shell and say, you know what? I don't want to burden you with my issues. And that's the way I've always been. I internalize this stuff and I bounce it around in my brain. And when it comes out, a solution is there that makes sense. And I've tried to help you guys through all of your stuff. And then when you guys try to help me through this stuff, it's like my brain's talking back to me through you because, you're doing, I've thought about that. Yeah. And no, yeah, that too. Right. And so I want to know how you guys are doing. You want to know how I'm doing. And sometimes that barrier of communication is because you care, right? And it's hard to bring up. You don't want to think about a third of a chance, but in my brain, I go, dang, there's 3 people sitting here and one of us is going to die of prostate cancer. Well, shit, I'm the only one that had one. So that would be me, right? Okay, well, now you're in a group of 3 people. It's still, the odds suck. I don't want to see anybody else go through this shit, which is why this podcast is so important to me and why I want you to be involved and to get other ideas coming in. A lot of times I'll pull them from the Facebook page or whatever. But I had someone say, Steve, you talk too much. You have guests on there. They need to tell their stories. They need to do their thing. I said, it's hard to bust out of a multiple year radio background to where I can just shut that down. I used to talk for 4 hours at a time to myself. Maybe somebody on the phone. So when somebody's in there, I feel like I have to be the guy that gives that little background info and then gets things started. But I told you it was a chemistry thing. When anybody has been a co-host, it's easy, right? To have somebody else pop in and do their thing. But it's like, do you tell like Bobby Bones that he talks too much? why don't we hear Lunchbox or Eddie more? Amy has some weird stories she wants, and they kick it around and they do their thing, but somebody has to steer the dang ship, right? And so I need to work on that to allow you to do more talking, according to the people that made that comment. And I said, a couple things. I get it. That's your opinion, and you are entitled to your opinion. I'm not going to tell you that opinion's wrong. I'm just going to give you an excuse as to why I do it, and it's because that's my personality, and I've done it on the radio for 20 years. So, can't stop that really. But does it bother you?
No, not at all. And I never even thought that you talk too much. This is your podcast, so you should be talking. And I am the guest. I am not the podcast. So, to me, it does not bother me at all. I think that, this is why we're doing what we're doing, so we can hear your thoughts, hear your stories, and that comedic relief that comes with that I appreciate. And getting real, getting therapeutic with it all. I really appreciate all of it, and I definitely don't think you talk too much. And this time I needed you to talk a little more because I keep crying, so it worked out.
Well, and that's it being real, right? But I think it's more of a, if it was a guest situation, I would say yes, tell me everything that you need to tell me. But the fact that I've known you your whole life, right? I was there, and oh, hi, welcome to the world, right? You and I have had that communication. We've been able to do that forever.
hmm
I think, I'm pretty available to all the children's and to anyone who wants to talk, because I truly am a caring person, and you get that too, right? But this is it's an ugly thing, in that internal turmoil of what my brain's going through, and I don't want to burden people with that, but at the same time, you can't have, I'm going to be an introvert with this topic and I'm going to keep it all internal, and yet not understand why other people aren't asking you questions about it, right? So my questions are, what do you want to know? Because I have this stuff. You are sitting here more as a co-host, so I don't know. This does help me, but at the same time, I see the pain that you're going through because of me, and I feel guilty. Hold on. I feel guilty about it because I see what it's doing to everyone else. And you didn't do this. This wasn't your choice. I have those voices bouncing around my head, but when you're talking to somebody, a friend of yours, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling good. Oh, I'm sorry. Why can you say, oh, I'm sorry to them? Right? And you go, oh no, don't be sorry. You didn't cause it. No, but I feel, so it's kind of that, right?
I'm sorry you're going through this is different than I'm sorry because I'm sorry you didn't do anything. You didn't choose this. And
I
I think you need
understand.
to go back and re-listen to the Hopecast episode where she was discussing all of this because you have this internal guilt, and I get it too. I mean, I didn't talk about my issues for years, and then everyone's like, "Oh my God, you've been going through this?" Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. I don't like talking about myself. I don't like bringing people down. We're having a fun conversation. Why am I going to talk about this? So I get it. I'm, unfortunately the same way, but that's not a healthy coping mechanism. And then once you start doing that, and then once you start just bringing out a little bit, you're like, oh my goodness, just like trauma dumping because you've been holding it in for so long, or it starts coming out in those you keep saying that you feel like you've been snippy lately, and you're like, oh, I didn't mean for that to come across that way. It's because you're internalizing so much and you're thinking so much in your head without getting any of that out that it kind of builds up that frustration. So talking about it, as uncomfortable as it is, and as much as you're sorry that, you don't want to bring this on to others, like it's still something that needs to happen, as uncomfortable as it may be.
But
And
does it?
yes, it
It's the
absolutely
same
does.
stuff. It's the same stuff, though. When you say, "What's your problem?" My problem is, my luck is just like the doctor said. If it's going to go wrong, it will. And I have been a trooper through all of this and trying to stay on top of it. The fact, that I was so far away from home when I was in the hospital with what the heck is going on with this guy, because aspiration pneumonia was serious. The abscesses that I had in my stomach were serious, but that was post surgery complications. So it got way beyond that and got way, way, way too scary. Doctor said, if this was 5 or 10 years ago, you would be dead. Well, that's something awesome. You go, I fought that, I won, I did my thing, undetectable PSA, I'm jamming. And then, damn it, it's back and it doubles and it goes and you go, but the numbers are still low. There's no tree.
Right.
There shouldn't be apples. And if you go, what are you talking about? Back up an episode. I think it's a good one, dealing
It's a
with
good one.
the stress and fear of results. And that's what I was talking about. Well, now we had the results smack us in the face today and said, now your results are not only here's your results, you have to take action. I go, what do I do? That's your choice. But I need help.
Mm-hmm.
You're the doctor. And that's what I said. I go, but wait a minute. And he goes, well, we're going to send you down there where he can get it and you'll have another opinion. You'll have somebody that does this. This is all they do and they're really good at it. And they're going to sit down and talk to you through all of this. Great bedside manner. I go, if he's like you and you're saying that, I'm good. I don't know if we need to talk about art, but we talked about art. We talked about podcasts and the fact that I'm doing this. So he's probably tuned in going, don't talk bad about me. And I wouldn't do, but there's sometimes, you wake up in the morning and you're cranky and you go to work and you don't want to be cranky, but you're still cranky a little bit. You just can't quite shake that 10% crankiness out of your system. And it comes across that way. Sometimes you get short. Sometimes your schedule, you're behind, you're rushed, you're panicked. You had bad news. You did this. You had to deliver bad news to somebody. So doctors are people, and if you have that experience, what you need to do is go, hey, we're going to have this discussion. And I told you going into this, we're going to get all these questions asked. We're going to do this. I want my doctor back that wasn't my doctor from my last visit. Please. I need him back. And he came back and brought a band with him, had a little parade. They were marching around the hall and they go, Steve's back. And it was all fun. And they invited you in. You got to crash the cymbals and do all that. We had a party until the party came into the room and said, you're in trouble. And so that's it. From cymbals to crap. Now what? And that's where we're at right now. We don't know anything other than what we've told you. We're just going to have to do some research. We're going to have to do some examining of doctors and making sure that's the right place to be. And this is where I guess I have time to make sure I'm in the right place at the right time, because you know what? Thinking about your job, thinking about the cost, and thinking about all the BS that goes along with that shouldn't be that priority. That shouldn't be the first thing in your brain. Well, I have to go somewhere local because instead of that 3-hour turnaround, it would be a 4 or 5 hour, and I can't do that. I can't make up that much time. Then I'm going to, you start worrying about all of the other things that happen. And so I have a lot of crap on my brain right now, and we'll get it sorted out. I just wanted that first impression of what you thought, and we got it. And sorry you had that little episode in the emotional thing, but it's me and I get it,
It's part of it.
right? And it is. This is all part of life, and you know, you gotta say when you have children that really care and they're good people, you've done your job, right? And you said, but your job is not over. We have
Correct.
other things to do. You have other people to help. Come on, get out of the funk. But I'm trying not to be in the funk, but at the same time, I'm on the verge of losing it and being that person. So you know what? Sometimes it happens. It gets real. It is one of those things. But that's today's update. We thought we'd pop in and do that. Apologize if I talk too much. See, that was your symbol part. You didn't do it for me. She put her symbols down, never picked them back up. I don't know. Anyhow, like it, share it, do whatever you can. Let people know what we're doing here. It is real. There's real emotions and there's real stories. And I want real feedback. And I need people to understand that I do care about this journey you're going on. And if you have any questions, you reach out to me. I will be there to answer anything we can. If you need some more information on radiation and what happens when you're on Lupron and whatever, doing the same exact thing, lowering the T's, and you have to understand we'll have more information on that because now that's part of the journey. So you learn more when you're going through it, and dang it, I guess I have more to learn, so I'm going to go through it and we're going to figure it out together. But we're going to keep you along for the ride, and I just want to thank you guys for being here. Shaylee, thank you for being emotionally open with all of this stuff, and we will continue to do this. You're going to be back talking about all kinds of stuff, not just this. We have pets that we want to talk about, and the fact that the shelters are full. And Bob
Yeah, there.
Barker used to say, "Spay or neuter your pets." It's not the same when Drew Carey says it. That's been the thing forever, and we're going to talk about that and shelters and just animal health. Okay, we're going to do that little series because Shaylee wants to do that little series, so she will be in control of that, and I'll be the guest just listening. How's that sound? All right.
That'll be
You're all
interesting.
just start it and end it, and other than that, I'm good to go. So this is how we end it. Boys and girls, hope you had fun. Please share us with anyone and everyone that will listen. It's a terrible, ugly thing that, prostate cancer is ugly. And my journey is just one of gazillions. And if I can help anyone, that would be awesome. And so anyhow, share us, like us, do your thing. We'll talk to you guys on the flip side. And until then, be good. Yeah, make good choices. Not on this. No,
Yeah.
your choices. How are they good? They all suck. Okay, so I'm gonna hit stop, and then it'll upload in no time.